last one. It's the last one. Well,
Now,
I don't know if it's the last one, but
yeah. Now here it says Mars Hill, because during the time of the Romans they called it Mars Hill because Mars was the Roman equivalent of the Greek god Ares, just as Jupiter was the Roman equivalent of the Greek god Zeus, just as Minerva was the Roman equivalent of the Greek goddess Athena, just as Neptune was the Roman equivalent of the Greek god Poseidon, just as Pluto was the Roman equivalent of the Greek god Hades. And we know that pursuing the what? Daniel the 7th chapter, the Romans took down the Greeks. So when the Romans took down the Greeks, they just took their gods, changed the names up. Now who did the Greeks take down? The Persians, pursuing the Revelation 7 chapter 2. I mean, Daniel the 7th chapter also. All right, the first beast was the Babylonians. The second one was the Persians, the Medo-Persian Empire. The third one was the Greeks, and the last one was the Roman Empire. Now, the beast, the leopard with 4 heads, took down the beast, right? I mean, took down the bear, right? Which was the Medo-Persian Empire. So when the Greeks took down the Persians, they even took their gods too. Now, get Ezra 1 and 8.
that's why the elders always say is the least worship Canaanite deities,
Yeah.
Hamite deities, go all the way back.
Yep. I remember the Elder Tahar once say, he said, all this white men do is you take the gods of other nations and switch their name up. Read that? Yeah, recycle them. Try to put a new spin on them. Change the name up and stuff. Like the hat on the Pope had is Dagon and fish gods. Go back to Canaanites, but that's mentioned in the book of Samuel. Go on.
Okay, Ezra 1 and 8.
This is just to prove that that the Greeks took the gods of the Persian the kingdom before them, which were the Persians. Go on.
It says, even those did Cyrus, king of Persia, bring forth by the hand of Mithridates.
Right, Cyrus, the king of Persia, brought forth by the hand of what? Mithridates. Go on.
The treasurer, and numbered them unto Sheshbazzar, the prince of Judah.
Now it says, read that again.
It says, even those did Cyrus, king of Persia, bring forth
King of Persia brought forth. Go on.
Bring forth by the hand of Mithridates.
Bring forth by the hand of Mithridates. Now the spirit got me just to look that up. And you know what Mithridates means? Mathridath, which means given by Mithra. Because the Persians had a god called Mithra. And the Greeks, they conquered the Persians. And guess what? They got a god called Mithras. So all the white men ever did was take the gods of previous kingdoms and change the names up. Like that Zeitgeist BS. They got Mithra this, Mithra Persian. Well, there was a false god, of course, in the ancient Persian kingdom called Mithra. But when the Greeks conquered them, they called it Mithras. We just proved in the scripture that they had a god called Mithra. It was the treasurer to Mithra. It means given by Mithra. His name was Mithridates. They said his name was Mithridates, right?
Yep. Mithridates.
Mithridates. Now you can read verse 22, and we're gonna call it we're gonna end it on that.
Okay. Acts 17:22. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are too suspicious.
Superstitious.
Slakia. It says that in all things ye are too superstitious.
Yeah, too superstitious. They was all superstitious. They was believing in false philosophies, believing in different natures of what they thought was God. You know, believing in different gods and so forth.
Well, weren't they worshiping Paul in that chapter?
No, that wasn't this chapter. That was that was a different chapter. You know. So with that, you know, we're gonna close. You know, all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahushua. Double honor to the elders, and shalom to you brothers out there pushing the truth and truth with sincerity. And with that, we're gonna say shalom. Shalom.